Hello, how you guys doing? James here. Mike Center here. Oh shit. Hello, James here. I'm getting my mic center here. So I'm about to start the video. Well, this one's gonna be another controversy. This is the video I'm about to show you. This is to my black diaspora immigrants. I'm gonna show you some video, and this is also tied into adoption of black children. What I'm about to show you is gonna blow your mind. And when I say when people say love see no color, well, after this video, when it comes to all us being human beings, well, it depends on the person who you interact with. I'm gonna show you a side of America that people don't like to talk about. Here it is.
Now let's begin this half hour with a court case that is raising eyebrows. An Ohio woman suing a sperm bank for medical malpractice. The reason, she became pregnant with sperm from a black donor. NBC's Katie Tur is here with more. Katie, good morning.
Good morning, Tamron. Jennifer Cramblett says it was a one-number mix-up that resulted in her biracial daughter. Now she wants the sperm bank involved to pay up. Jennifer Cramblett gave birth to her daughter Peyton 2 years ago.
We love her more to this day. She's made us the people that we are. Never traded for the birth.
Despite that love, Cramblett is suing the Midwest Sperm Bank in Downers Grove, Illinois, for medical malpractice. Cramblett says she thought she was being inseminated with a white man's sperm, so the baby would look like her partner, Amanda Zinkin.
Hence why we chose a blonde-haired, blue-eye individual.
According to the lawsuit, after Cramblett was pregnant, she found out she was mistakenly inseminated with an African-American man's sperm instead. All because court papers claim a worker mistakenly read donor number 330 instead of donor number 380.
It wasn't as though she was calling in September of 2011 ordering a pizza. She was calling and ordering donor sperm.
You cannot just say, oops, I'm sorry, be happy you got a child, and walk away from this.
Cramblett suing in part, she says, so she and her partner can move to a larger and more diverse community.
We just want her to have the ability to see different cultures and possibly feel welcomed.
In the lawsuit, she says that living in Uniontown, Ohio, even getting a haircut for Peyton is difficult. According to the lawsuit, she says she must travel to a black neighborhood far from where she lives, where she is obviously different in appearance and not overtly welcome. But she insists the suit is not about race.
I don't find any problems with having a mixed-race child as far as I'm concerned.
NBC News reached out to the Midwest Sperm Bank, but they declined to comment. Their lawyer even hanging up on us. Cramblett and her partner provided these pictures of Peyton to NBC News and say they're not worried about what their daughter will think
It
of the
does bother
lawsuit.
you.
And she
That's why you
blows up.
sued them.
And she will understand that it wasn't about, we didn't want you, we wanted a white baby. That's not what it was about.
Yes, it was.
Cramblett says while her family is loving, they don't fully understand her lifestyle as a lesbian. And she's worried about how they'll unconsciously treat her daughter, which is also why she wants to move. Now she's suing the Midwest Sperm Bank for damages in excess of $50,000. Taryn?
All right, Katie, thank you. There are many layers here, but I am surprised that they write down the information and it's not in a computer and a database. You're trusting a handwritten note on, who the donor is.
And not to get into the legalities here, but if there are people in that community making her and her daughter feel anything less than welcome, then shame on them. But we'll have to hear more about that to find out.
Deciding to get pregnant is always a leap of faith, particularly when using a sperm donor. That's why the woman you're about to meet, Jennifer Cramblett, did so much research on the donor and chose the one that she believed would be just the right fit. Imagine her shock when she learned the sperm bank mixed up the sample and she was pregnant with a child of a different race.
All right, let's meet her now. Joining us exclusively is Jennifer Cramblett, the mother of now 2-year-old mixed-race girl, and Jennifer is joined by her attorney, Tim Mincy. Okay, thank you guys for joining us. First to you, Jennifer. So, Jennifer, I want you to explain to us what happened here. You and your partner, Amanda, You decide that you want to start a family, so you opt to use the services of a sperm bank. So how did you learn that the sperm that you were pregnant with was from a black man and not a white man as you had ordered?
Well, we actually, 5 months into the pregnancy, we had called to try to get some more vials for the second pregnancy for Amanda. And when I called to order that sperm and those vials, I asked them for 380, and they came back on the line and say, I do believe we've sent you donor number 330. Are you sure that's not what you asked for? And I obviously said, no, my donor number is 330 or 380. And they came back on the line and said, well, unfortunately, I think we've aired up and sent you 330.
Did they tell you then that the sperm you had gotten was from a black man? How did you find out?
Once they did some, and my shock, just it being the different number that I wanted, they said, hold on, let's go into your file, let's do a little bit more research. Came back on the line and then had asked me if I had requested an African-American donor. And at that point I said, no, 380 was blonde hair, blue-eyed, something resembling my partner Amanda. And at that point they said, well, I do believe 330 is an African-American donor, and basically we can no longer talk to you anymore. Wow.
And listen, I understand that someone has to take responsibility. That was a pretty egregious error, but I mean, kids are born with all sorts of things that parents don't expect to do and to learn about, and that's kind of part of parenting.
Right.
Do you disagree? I mean, kids are picked on for a number of different things, and if she's loved at home, why does it matter? Yeah, why does it matter what other people say? And then when she gets older, she may read about this, and how do you think she's going to feel about this later?
Yeah, we were always going to have that conversation. If I was here right now with a lawsuit, she's going to know what she is and where she came from and how all this happened. So that conversation was going to be had no matter what. She's going to know that we love her unconditionally. Everybody around her loves her. So I think she's going to know why we did what we did. And the basis of the lawsuit and why we're doing what we're doing is so that somebody is held accountable. And
I understand lawsuit, but I can't see, this is this kind of stuff I don't understand. You gonna tell it, regardless, we love you, but really we want a blonde-haired, blue-eyed child, and you suing, and that's the whole purpose, because you want a child. Just come on out and say it. And I mean, and another thing they could have did was just maybe put the baby up for adoption and try it again. I mean, and go, if you choose to get pregnant again, and this time make sure it's a baby that look like your partner. Why do white people do this stuff? I just don't understand that. It's like they dance around and shit. Well, it's all about. No, it's not. You suing them because of it. Please stop with that. Just come on out. And if you didn't want it, and she said she felt uncomfortable going to the black side of the neighborhood and getting her hair done. Come on, man. I mean, it's just like, come on.
This isn't going to happen to anybody
else.
else.
Speaking of that, how has the sperm bank responded? Timothy?
They haven't. When I called, found it out, they said, we can no longer talk to you, hang up, that's it. A few weeks later, I received a very small letter that said, we're sorry for the mix-up. Here is your refund of just the 6 vials that we got wrong. Sorry about the mistake. And that was it. And nobody's reached out, and I think if that would have happened, first and foremost, even when that first conversation happened, if I got shown any bit of compassion and ownership of this mistake, then we may not be sitting here.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the moment of truth.
Oh, hold on. Yeah. Obviously the color bothered them. I don't know why people say that stuff. Like, you know it did. It's like, that's why you suing the company. Oh my goodness. I mean, and they had a choice like, okay, maybe we just put the kid up for adoption because it didn't, knowing that in the future we're going to have to go to the black side of town and we're going to have to get, well, we love her unconditionally though. Come on, man. Really? I mean, you could have had that option of doing that. I mean, if that's the way you feel. You see, this is the double talk that, it's like, we do love you, but we didn't really want you. We want something that look resemble to us. Ah, Jesus. I mean, it's like, this is what we talk about. Sometimes people, and they come from a certain community, like the LGBT community. It's all about rights. It's all about this. But this goes to test. Check this story out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. If you're new around here on my channel, my name is Harmon. Today's video, I'm documenting the really unfortunate, tragic case of a 13-year-old girl named Hannah Williams who died here in Sedro-Woolley, Washington. And in this video, I'm going to document all the details about this case, which are incredibly tragic. Really, really one of those cases that actually hit me pretty hard, actually. And not many cases do that, but this one in particular really, really rattled me and hit me hard. I'm going to show you her grave here in Sedro-Woolley. Now, Sedro-Woolley, Washington is about an hour and a half north of Seattle. So Hannah Grace Rose Williams was born in Ethiopia. She was Ethiopian, and she was born there on June 19th, 1997, and she passed away here in Sedro-Woolley on May 12th, 2011. Again, she was 13 years old, but she was adopted by a couple named Larry and Carrie Williams. And the Williams actually had a total of 9 children. 7 were of their own children, and then they adopted 2 other children from Ethiopia, and one of those adopted kids was Hannah. So Emmanuel, the other child that they adopted from Ethiopia, was actually deaf. Anyway, so the Williams, they ran their household as a very, very devout, fundamentalist Christian household. They didn't really allow the children to watch TV, have the internet, or really even socialize with any other kids. They kind of kept to themselves. They wouldn't really let their children go out of the house very often, and they wouldn't really let them hang out with any of their friends. But when they did go out on occasion on walks, the neighbors described seeing the family, Larry, Carrie, and the 7 children kind of towards the front, but they'd always see Emmanuel and Hannah always in the back, like trailing far, far behind the rest of the family. They figured out that it's because Larry and Carrie absolutely hated Hannah, and they really didn't like Emmanuel either. And so you always wonder, like, how could anyone treat their children that way, let alone, their 2 adoptive children? You spent all that time, energy, and money to adopt these 2 children from Ethiopia, and yet you treat them like absolute garbage. It pisses me off, and it boggles my mind how anyone could do that. So reading different trial transcripts and court documents, I read that Hannah's daily life consisted of punishments that continued to escalate every single day. So Larry and Carrie would punish her basically on a daily basis, and it would continue to just get worse and worse and worse. And so some of the punishments that I read included they would lock her in a barn by herself on the property. After that happened, they locked her in a dark, like, shower room in the actual house. And then lastly, they locked her in like a 4x2 closet for basically the last 6 months of her life before she ultimately died. And that's only the tip of the iceberg. It gets, unfortunately, a lot worse from there. On a different occasion, Larry and Carrie actually accused Hannah of smearing her menstrual blood all over the bathroom, and so as a different punishment, they forced her to use the outhouse, which they set up outside far away from the house itself, but they didn't service the outhouse very often, like maybe once a year, and so this outhouse was absolutely disgusting, and so they forced her to use that outhouse on a daily basis instead of the normal bathroom that all the other children got to use in the house. They also wouldn't let her use the actual shower inside as well, and so they forced her to take a shower by using a hose out in the front yard. And so while all the other kids were inside being able to take showers, she was forced to stand out in the front yard and use a garden hose for her shower. They also wouldn't speak to Hannah sometimes for up to 2 or 3 days at a time. So while she was intermittently locked in, the closet or the barn outside, they sometimes wouldn't talk to her for 2 to 3 days at a time. To kind of continue with the story, Larry and Carrie would also make Hannah and Emmanuel eat different food than the rest of the 7 children. They would make them eat like cold leftovers, and also I guess they would make them sandwiches sometimes, but they would soak them intentionally in water. So literally every single aspect of Hannah's life, in terms of bathing, using the bathroom, eating, where she had to sleep every night, all that was controlled by her parents, and it was obviously to the point of child abuse. So the actual events that led up to Hannah's death took place on May 11th, 2011, into the early morning hours of May 12th, 2011, as her death date was considered May 12th, 2011. But anyway, on that late evening into the early morning hours of May 12th, Hannah was again forced to be outside in the cold, rainy weather. She was severely underweight at that time, and she had bruises all over her body, including numerous lacerations from all the beatings that she endured by her parents, while Hannah was out in the dark in the backyard, freezing, barely alive basically at this point. Meanwhile, her mom, Carrie, and the 8 other siblings were looking through the window, peering out at her, just watching her suffer. So because of her extreme lack of nutrition, the fact that she was severely underweight, and because she was forced to be outside in the freezing cold, Hannah had actually developed what's called hypothermic paradoxical undressing while staggering and thrashing around. Basically meaning that she was kind of becoming almost like delusional and was, just not in her right mind because of all that. And so she actually ended up undressing herself and thrashing around on the ground, actually ended up falling several times and hitting her head. And so she was, completely deteriorating by the hour. Hannah had again fallen one last time, face down into the mud. And at that point, her mom, Carrie, finally came out and was actually pissed at Hannah because she was now naked in the backyard, face down. And so she ended up getting a bed sheet, and she asked her 2 teenage sons to help carry her body back into the house. She called her husband, Larry, who at that point was working at Boeing, and called 911 and told them that, "I think my daughter just killed herself. She's really rebellious." That is what Carrie told the 911 operator. So after several hours, finally Hannah was brought to the hospital. However, she was pronounced dead there at the hospital. Hannah's cause of death was determined to be hypothermia compounded by malnutrition and gastritis. What led to Larry and Carrie finally being arrested was an anonymous tip came in about 2 months later after Hannah had passed away. And the anonymous tip told the police department that Carrie didn't like her adoptive children, and that Emmanuel was starting to be treated just like Hannah had been. So finally, Larry and Carrie were arrested. They were brought to trial for Hannah's murder. They were both convicted of manslaughter. Carrie ended up receiving a sentence of 37 years in prison, and her husband Larry received a sentence of 28 years in prison. The article also states that Larry and Carrie were also charged with assault, as again they were starting to do the same abuse towards Emmanuel, again the other boy that they adopted from Ethiopia. They were assaulting him. The remainder 8 children were adopted out and given to some relatives. It doesn't state specifically if they all went to one particular relative or if they all got kind of split up. This case, again, it really struck a nerve with me because, again, I was adopted, and just knowing that, Hannah went through so much torture and physical and mental abuse from the people that adopted her and that were supposed to love her, that to me just really, really makes me upset. Once again, guys,
TikTok. Let's go to Pennsylvania, folks, where there's a strange story. A Jamaican family desperately seeks answers after their relative was shot several times during a hunting trip with co-workers. Peter Bernardo Spencer was reportedly shot at least 9 times in December. Spencer was dropped by his fiancée for a hunting trip with a colleague who reached out to him on Snapchat. A few hours later, the 29-year-old was dead. A 25-year-old man was taken into custody. 3 other individuals and multiple guns were found at the scene, but no charges have been filed. William Anderson is chair of the Allegheny Democratic Black Caucus. He joins us right now. William, I'm trying to understand. He goes hunting, he ends up dead, and
nothing. And thank you, Roland, for having me on to shed light on this situation. It's very tragic, and as you said in your former comments, that this is just what happens to blacks in America. So on December 11th, Peter, he wasn't going hunting. He was going to the woods to hang out with some friends at, usually he assumed he was going to Nathan Meyer's mother's house. So his fiance usually dropped him off at Nathan Meyer's mother's house on several occasions, usually with friends. But on this occasion, she drops him off at it was either a cabin or a mobile home in the woods of Venango County. And this was very strange to her because it was such a desolate area that she couldn't even ping Peter's location once she dropped him off.
So is there an investigation? And who's leading the investigation?
So allegedly, the Venango County District Attorney, his name is D. Sean White. He's in charge of the investigation and has been leading the investigation since December 12th, when Peter Spencer was murdered. And also, the PA State Troopers Heritage Affairs Department, which investigates hate crimes, is also involved in the investigation. But we haven't gotten any information on what they're doing, and it's been since December 12th, and there has been no arrest, no one has been charged or anything.
Are state officials involved in this? I mean, are folks being interviewed? I mean, brother just goes out and ends up shot 9 times and dead? Has there been a ruling from the medical examiner? Have they ruled his death a homicide? Obviously.
Yes, sir. The medical examiner in Venango County ruled Peter Spencer's death a homicide almost, I So we, as Venango County is a small county, it's a Republican-controlled rural county in Pennsylvania, where all of the people, a lot of the insurrectionists from January 6th, this is their breeding ground. Western Pennsylvania is the breeding ground for all of these people. So we haven't gotten any cooperation, although it has been not only, declared a homicide, but they had suspects in custody that admitted to shooting him, and they were released.
Whoa. The suspects admitted to shooting him?
Yes, they said there was some type of altercation, and they shot Peter in self-defense 9 times, which in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, you cannot declare self-defense, one, if you can flee the danger, and two, you cannot declare self-defense when you shoot someone 9 times. This young man was shot twice above his butt, 5 times in his back, once in his neck that went through his neck and broke his jaw, and once in his chest close range. And no charges have been filed against anyone since December 12th. This is outrageous.
Were all 9 shots from the same gun?
That we haven't gotten any information to be able to come to that conclusion because they aren't cooperating. They aren't giving the investigators, the attorneys, any information. They aren't giving the family any information, and they have yet to respond to our request as the Democratic Black Caucus and the Black Political Empowerment Project for information. And the only help that we've gotten was from Chandy Chapman, a local reporter here, an African-American female on our WTA local station, was the only one to even investigate this and to help shine light on this. So we just thank you for giving us national attention so we can get justice for Peter.
Has the family had an independent autopsy done?
Yes, sir. And we not only have we had an independent autopsy done, but the autopsy was done by Dr. Sir Weck. And Dr. Sir Weck is one of the most famous coroners in the entire world. So he completed his autopsy on January 3rd. And Dr. Weck, in an interview on our WTAE with Chandy Chapman, told her that he'd never seen an incident like this in his entire career, when someone has been shot 9 times and shot in the back and no charges have been filed.
This is absolutely crazy. So certainly keep us abreast, William, of what happens.
Shedding light on the situation and for wishing him a happy heavenly.
And people from the comments on social media. Here's a situation out of the state of Pennsylvania. Now this just went down 2024, the month of April. This happened in the suburbs of Pennsylvania, a place called Lower Paxton Township in Dauphin County. People from that area, you know what it is, okay? And unfortunately, a black Jamaican child named Justin Johnson, 16 years of age, he just came to America from Jamaica 2 years ago, lived with his father in a house in Lower Paxton Township. He passed away. He passed away, people. And they believe that this was from racial bullying or it played a factor in it. But I got to get into the whole story. You'll form your own opinion, okay? Now, this child, Justin Johnson, he lived with his father in the house. They lived in a pretty good neighborhood. Just came to America, just wanted to fit in, wanted to have friends, wanted to do things that American kids did. He didn't want to appear to be the oddball. Classmates said that he was always smiling, he was always happy. And in addition, Justin Johnson also had sickle cell. He also had sickle cell. He wanted to fit in so much that he decided that he was going to try to join a football team in Jamaica. He played soccer. He may be even an exceptional soccer player, who knows, but he said that he wanted to join the football team. He'd been lifting weights, daily to get on his football team. And you can also imagine people, how naive Justin is. He just wants to fit in. Not only is he in a new country, he's in a new school, and he's new to white people. He's new to white people. This is probably his first time being around white people when he moved to this Lower Paxton Township in Pennsylvania and going to this school. I can't prove that. I don't know what kind of people were around him in Jamaica, but I don't think it was a bunch of white folks, white teachers, white kids, white faculty, white neighbors. I don't believe that, okay? Now the problem here is these white youths, they knew that Justin just wanted to fit in. They knew he was from Jamaica. They knew he was new. They knew that he didn't have any, backup or any big black friends or violent cousins or anybody around that they may be intimidated by who would take up for him. So these white kids did the typical white American thing. They started harassing him, bullying him, racially bullying him, and becoming violent. That's what happens, okay? That's what happens when black children are in environments with white children, okay? So what happened this day is these white kids kept coming to Justin's house, okay? They had been coming to his house for about a week, ringing the doorbell, trying to get Justin to come out. One day, Justin could be heard on the camera saying, "I'm not home." Or, on the doorbell camera type thing where you can talk even when you're not home. He's saying, "I'm not home." And you can hear the white kids responding, "Yes, you are. We can see you in there. Come out." Justin's not coming out. So finally, at the end of the week, Justin comes out. The end of the week on a Friday, April 26th, he decides, okay, let me just go ahead out there with them. Now, they kept coming to the house on this day, and a little after 8 p.m., Justin comes out. They kept trying to get him to come out. He comes out. Justin calls his father, and his father asked, his father called him and asked, "Who's ringing the doorbell?" Justin says, "Hey, it's just some friends. They want to play tag. I'm going to go out and play with them. I'll be right back." So Justin gave in. Justin steps out there. There are 3 cars out there. As soon as Justin gets off the porch, he's walking off. Some white males come from behind the cars. They start chasing Justin. They're chasing him. They're yelling. One of them could be heard saying, "Where did he go?" Somebody says he ran back to Africa. And when Justin is finished, he gets back to the house. Justin calls his dad. He says, "Dad, I had to run real fast to get back here." He tells his dad he had to run real fast. His dad's not home at the time, people. So after Justin calls his father, Justin goes in the house, and Justin must have collapsed. After that, he collapsed. I don't know when he collapsed, but it was before his father could get home. His father comes home. He finds Justin in the house, out of it, collapsed, calls 911. They try to revive Justin. Justin passed away at the hospital. Now Justin's family is upset, okay? And remember, his father does have video footage, and he knows that the last thing he's seen or heard and knows that his son went out with these white kids, okay, to play tag. And now what people are saying is that Justin may have passed away due to him being bullied and hazed. They're saying that him being scared and running so fast may have triggered something with him having sickle cell, and his cause of death, people, is they say his death was triggered from a reaction caused by a cardiomyopathy. They're trying to say that this was hazing, and that these kids knew exactly what they were doing. They said that Justin died from a cardiomyopathy. They definitely took advantage of Justin being naive and wanting to fit in, only to get him outside and scare him up. He ran away. His family has lawyered up, and they're waiting to hear more from the police. I mean, people, it already looks weird. You know what it is in this neighborhood with these white kids. Nobody comes outside and sees 3 cars waiting on them to play tag at that age. I mean, you old enough to drive. You're not playing tag anymore. They knew what they were doing. Yeah. They were taking advantage of Justin. They were racially bullying him like they do any other black child who's outnumbered in them environments. That's what it is, people. Right. Condolences to the family of Justin. And people, here we go. Again, this is America. This is America. And unfortunately, Justin was put out there to be a sitting duck for white people. I guess his family figured that they were just coming to a nice suburb in America. He's not going to be in Philadelphia, nor Philly, even though we're in Pennsylvania. We ain't going to be in none of them slums in Chester, PA. them areas where it's, where it's kind of grisly. You know them areas out there, them suburbs in Pennsylvania. You got a lot of them that just terrible, worse than the hoods. Not in North Philly, Badlands, not in West Philly, South Philly, whatever. Figured things would be cool. We're out here in this nice suburb with these white people. Not at all. Not at all. Because I guess Justin's parents, his father, his people, they haven't been watching the History Channel, learning things about black history or any current events on channels like this or other channels talking about what's going on with black people in America, especially the black youth. I guess he didn't know you have something in your neighborhood called white people. Your son is going to school with something called white people, okay? And a lot of these parents from African countries and different islands, they don't realize that. Yes, I said Africa. I know Africa's a continent, but yes, I mean the whole Africa. The whole Africa. There are many parents from African countries, from the continent of Africa, from the islands. They come to America, figure a lot of times that they're not living in the hood or whatever, and figure, okay, well, I don't have to worry about the influence of the hood negativity. These black kids out here shooting each other up, being in gangs or whatever, but you're dealing with a whole different gang now, okay? And these gangs in these white communities with these kids, they have the support of the entire community, right, from the police to the fire department to the coroner's department, right, parks department, coaches, the general store, whatever. It's a different kind of gang. And this is a very, very racist area that Justin was living in. For people who know the area, you're from Pennsylvania, and that area, get in the comments, you know what it is, disgustingly terrible. Pennsylvania is just a disgustingly terrible state anyway for racism, okay? It's like, in the state of Pennsylvania, black people really don't have anywhere to fit in that. It's like, you gotta, either you live in the hoods where it's very dangerous, one of your own people will rob you, stick you up, whatever, you get hit with a straight bullet, or you move into these suburbs where you're gonna live around these white trash, with these bad influences, racist police officers, and other people coming from the hood living there because they can afford to live at these places called Gardens or Terrace or Trace, bunch of white junkies and fiends around also. Or you live in a place like Justin did, nice neighborhood, white people, they're going to give you hell. Treacherous, very racist schools, very violent and disrespectful to black people. You know how white people are, y'all. When they smell blood, they go extra hard. They don't stop. That whole experience from K through 12 will torture you in these white Pennsylvania towns, in these white schools, okay? If your black son is not their token athlete on a football team, basketball team, going to bring some pride to their town, get some wins, maybe get the Penn State coach out there watching and other people getting looks, the state coach from Ohio State, coach from Rutgers or whatever, Maryland, LSU, they're not coming out there to check out your big son, your child will be physically and emotionally, psychologically abused by the system out there, by the students, the parents, and the teachers. It is what it is, man. They don't play around. Ain't no Negroes coming into their town if you ain't got no athletic ability. That's what it is. Your son better be that deal, okay? And if he plays on the team, if he's average, he's going to get smacked around. He better be exceptional. That's white people don't play around like that, man. You got to be a reason for you Negroes to be out here. Okay, Jaquarius, okay, yeah, he's going to be a D1 player. Okay, yeah, we'll do that. Okay, Marcus, okay, he's going to Penn State. We'll deal with him. Okay. If you don't have nobody in your family that can fight or strong or keep these white kids off, and then when you beat them up, defending yourself, believe you're going to have the whole school, the fire department, the police, everybody's going to go against you just for defending yourself, and you will get kicked out of school. They want you to sit there and racially abuse you and be violent, just like this situation here with Justin. Your kids in Pennsylvania, you know what it is. This is what's going on. White people in Pennsylvania are treacherous, and I will keep saying this again. The worst people that I've met in law enforcement that carry a badge and a gun, the state of Pennsylvania, they definitely come from there, in addition to Ohio, upstate New York, to include Buffalo and Florida. That's what it is, man, in my experience. People who wrote in reference to this sad situation when Justin said, this is not hazing, this is a hate crime, okay? One person wrote, if it were not for Ratchet News, the horror surrounding Justin's death may have never come to light. Thousands of people across the nation are now aware of what happened to Justin due to Ratchet News, okay? Ratchet News is a news outlet that first started covering this situation with Justin.
Hey, it's Matt with Channel 5 Ratchet News Station. We just want to say happy heavenly birthday to Justin Johnson. Rest in peace, Justin. We love you over here at Channel 5 Ratchet News. Everybody be at the vigil today at 5 p.m. Thank you to Huntington Billboards for shedding light on the situation and for wishing him a happy heavenly birthday.
And people from the comments on social media, many people don't believe that justice will ever be served or prevail in the death of Justin without significant community pressure. Many people believe his death is just the latest sign of persistent racism that has hurt far too many black youth in that area. Somebody said this was no mistake, and above all, it was not hazing. This was a criminal act, and if black children would have done this to a new white child in town, it would be considered criminal. Please do not try to minimize this major, unacceptable, unnecessary loss, one person wrote. And some white people were saying this as well, by the way. I've seen some of their pictures, unless it's a fake profile. Somebody said, I am absolutely heartbroken and sickened by this, but I have a feeling with all the cover-ups and BS that happens at the highest levels of this area, these bullies will get off with no consequence. Somebody else said, I am not surprised at this one bit. Central Dauphin has not changed. That's the county that is in. People just brush these incidents under the rug because it's CD, or Central Dauphin. White power is alive and well, and the N-word is regularly used often at the school. The kids get a slap on the wrist, a day off from school, and are allowed to return with no consequences. Money talks, and who you know is important. Yes, this is facts, people, and this is me talking now. I'm not reading anymore. When you go to these schools, the faculty, the teachers, the coaches, the janitors, the guidance counselors, they always support this racial bullying that these knuckle-dragging minis are in school doing, because they know that's also what they do. That's what they would be doing to a black co-worker if they had them. And that's what they did when they were younger. They will not stop doing this. Somebody else wrote, I was bullied and hazed my whole middle and high school life because I was the only black kid out there. They said, another one said, I've been trying to tell y'all for years that Central Dauphin is full of hate. My daughter was going to Lingelstown Middle School and her experience was horrific of all the racism from these kids. Blame the parents because it's being taught. And of course, that's true. Of course it is. Racism is one of the first things that are taught to white youths in the house. By default. By default. In the house, outside, whatever. Racism is taught in the house, and then they go ahead and merge that with the superiority complex that they'll get just from watching TV, looking at billboards, going to the mall, looking at advertisements. You mix those two, there you go. You got an American. Okay? People, in this story with Justin is just another example that proves that black people really don't have anywhere to go. You know, they create the ghettos that we live in.
There's a young lady that has a white mother, and her white mother, of course she had a black father, her white mother was a straight up white supremacist and treated this child just horribly to the point that she just had to dismiss her out of her life, which is a beautiful thing she did there. Let's go roll that.
My white mom is racist, but I'm mixed. And yes, you heard that right. My mom has 2 black kids and she's racist. She had multiple black partners, including my father, and they were even married at one point. As I got older, I started to realize how racist she was. She would call my friends and their moms monkeys. She said my dad was blacker than her. She called my brother's friend the hard N-word and then punched him in the face. Me and my older brother share the same mom and dad, but my younger brother is white. He was always treated a little bit differently than we were. She had bipolar disorder and she would always get real angry, and when she would get in her little modes, she would argue with everybody and just start saying a lot of racist things. My grandparents were even racist and they didn't mind her acting that way. So a lot of people be like, why did you cut off your family? Why did you cut off your family? This is not even the half. But just know everything I did was for good reason. Don't block your blessings by keeping people in your life that aren't meant to be there. Some people are just lessons.
You know, I remember growing up in school, you'll see kids, like this one here in the video, and a lot of times they dealt with a lot of identity issues that we saw, or they just had this certain confusion. And they either, what I learned also from, they either would lean heavy into their black side, or the times they try to lean into their white side, the white side like, no, you are not white. No, the most I give you is biracial. That's the most I'll give you, but you're never gonna be called white. You better go over there with the blacks, but you're not coming over here. And this young lady talked about how racist the family were. Now let me tell you something to this. And I'm saying more so this message definitely to, I can say to black people, because men and women are doing it. Just be, myself personally, that's why I could not be with a white woman, is because of that issue right there, what that young lady said. But see, you got some black men that lay up with a racist white woman. They know that woman racist. They know that. And they'll still lay up with her and have children with them. And then this is the bad part. You leave those black children, because they are black, you leave those black children with that racist white woman. Shame on you for that mess. If anything, you should have took your kids with you and say, you know what, okay, I'm taking my kids with me, because I'm the only one that can really raise them right. You can't raise them right. You can't. I just never wanted that issue and problem. I never wanted that kind of confusion with any of my children. And definitely I didn't want my child a part of no family that can't stand they behind because they black. That's something I never wanted either. And as men, we do have a choice who we impregnate. You understand? We have a choice. Now, some of you may say, because many of you have said this, well, how come if this female hated black people so much, how did she lay up after black man after black man after black man? Well, the same question you asked about slavery. How did they lay up with black people and force themselves on black people in slavery? The male and the female forced themselves on. They're slavery. We were slaves and they could supposedly hate us, but yet they want to keep sleeping with us. It's the same thing. They lay down, they get their rocks off, and then they get right up out that bed and practice racism, white supremacy. And just keeping it all the way 100 with y'all. That's how it is. So, everybody laugh at Dr. Umar and all that situation. And some of that is funny how he's kind of memed himself, especially on TikTok. But reality speaking, and I said this in the podcast, live stream, before. I said, look, if God himself told you, you can have all the women in the world you want to, just leave that one alone. Some of y'all would be mad about that, right? You say, well, you got billions over here, but you want to fool with this one? Now, am I saying all of them are that way? No, I would never indict all people of one way. No, I'm not saying all white women are that way. I'm not saying that. But I've said this before. Let's say if she's not that way. Let's say if she's not. What if her family is? Let's go scenario number 2. She's not that way. Her family not that way. But her society is. And we know if you live long enough, the majority in that society have anti-black racism. Now, the minority isn't that way at all. Isn't. But the majority have no problem practicing anti-black racism. Anti-black racism doesn't mean screaming the N-word all day, putting racist memes, being in the Klan, Nazis, or anything like that. No. Anti-black racism is practiced in the passive-aggressive sense. That's why in my first book I wrote, Passive-Aggressive Racism and the System of White Supremacy, that's the racism you're going to deal with the most.
Right.
Not the Klansman. You're going to deal with the racist at the grocery store. You're going to deal with the racist at the doctor's office, in the hospital. Right. Everybody points to the police.
Right.
And the racism in the police, it's permeated everywhere.
Right.
Firefighters, paramedics, anything that they are a part of, you better believe there's some anti-black racism somewhere swirling around it.
Exactly.
Whether it's open or nuanced.
Exactly.
Like you got these sisters, they doing something new. They going to get zaddy. Some of them, not all. And then a lot of them finding out the hard way that zaddy was an anti-black racist too. Calling them the N-word and they get mad. Abandoning those children that they have with them. That's happening to black women too. But a lot of them don't like to talk about that. I've covered stories where zaddies out here doing heinous crimes to sisters. Heinous. Now, of course, at the end of the day, do what you do. Do what you do. I'm not one to tell you what to do. I'm just saying that particular group in America, we just got too much. We got too much ancestral beef. For me personally, too much ancestral beef to say you can just throw all that away and go lay up with them. But that's my personal opinion. You may not feel that way, but that's my personal opinion. Because a lot of you are individualistic. You don't look at your group. You don't look at your ancestors. You don't look at any of that. You don't. My thing is, how can you even, as a black man, you dealing with racism, how do you come home and tell her about it? She can't really relate to that part of it. Or you may even offend her by certain things you may say. See, that's the type of things that they don't talk about in these particular relationships, right? But at the end of the day, once again, do you. If it's not you, if it's not your relationship,
Alright then. This is going to be a good one. I'm going to comment on this one. Hearing these stories is really sad. And this is the reality America do not want to address. And there's some people in America. And did you see with the first video that they're supposed to be Christians with the Ethiopians? And that they use Jesus as a tactic to say that when people thought that they had a heart of God, of Christ, but yet when they got over here, it wasn't the case. There was something deep rooted. America has a spirit of racism. And to my immigrants that come across, America has a spirit of racism. It's embedded, like he said. And we just need to deal with this. We need to deal with the fact that's what it is. Subconsciously. And then what he talk about, that's the two type of racism. I talk about indirect and direct. He hit it. Passive aggressive racism. And some people, it's like a competition. Like, we got to compete. Then we got to feel like, and it's like ancestral, then we got to beat them at something. It's almost like some people take it like that. It's a competition that they don't want to outshine. And it's like, wow, man, it's crazy. And no matter what it is, it's like they try to outshine it. They try to get it back to the way it was. That they rule and have it all plastered in history, TV, etiquette, books, history, everything. They control and dominate to look like it's like that. So when another group of people outshine the people, they get inferiority. Some of them do. And listen to these stories. Some people, we all supposed to be human beings. Only a small percentage of them folks feel that way, but everybody don't feel the same way. It's almost like it's embedded in to see when you look at them slave movies and when you look at them slave movies, you don't think it's totally different outcome. That look, these black people they couldn't really talk, so you can see by their educational standard that they're not really too bright. We see that when we keep them in poverty, and then it's like you're going to come rescue us so they can depend. So when somebody said, no, let's do our own, why you want to do your own? So it's like it's a trick, reverse psychology. You're being racist because you want to be on your own. How y'all want to be on my own when you already set the system up to be on your own, among yourself? But when someone decides they want to do equally, then it's almost like it's a competition. So, and if you give someone your idea as a black person, they'll take it and make it for themselves. So black people have learned to hone in on their gifts and keep it among themselves. And keep it in history, because history atones. Look what they did to the Bible. Look what they did to other inventions. They had to put a pattern on it. Look what they did, even in sports, even in the music. They have to make it look like it's the dominant. It's deeper. It's the dominant. It's the dominant. It has to look like, and it's a set of people. It looks like that, and they don't. And then now, when they show that it's equally that people equally have a dominance, and they can't take that. And then when you get into the arena and whatever they into, that's when it comes out. It's not about, for some people it's friendly competition. To them it's not. It's something deep rooted. Jealousy, envy. And it's passed down from generation. Look at it. It's from generation to generation. Kids chase another kid, calling the N-word. Who's teaching them this? Who's teaching these kids to be racist towards one another? Where are they getting this from? It's past. It's a generational curse. I've seen it in my generation and my mother's generation after generation. It's going to keep going, all the way down. It's like this racism spirit has jumped from generation after generation. You see it in every is something deep rooted, and based on the history of America. There were black towns. They showed you, and it was one false allegation. The whole town blew up because a false allegation. It's us versus them. We had to subjugate them. It's been like that. This is what he's saying. And then the immigrants, some of your black immigrants don't understand this. They see color before they hear the language. They see color. They see your color. And then when you start outshining, that's one thing. Because what history has taught, that these darker nations is not too bright. They have resources, they have enough athletic ability, but we got to dominate them. It's passed down, and it's with some people with the mindset is genetic, and they know it. Some even have confessed to you. Some even come on TikTok and told you. And they don't like it when someone that look like them telling them their own faults. No, keep the no. Yes, your imagination. You're race baiting. You're this. You seeing it. You're seeing it for yourself. Even when you come with some people part of their family, I have to put on a face. Because some of them saying you're opposing the other people. Why are you getting with the people? There's some people that don't even know that they did a test like this years ago on Oprah Winfrey when they did the psychologically test. Which one's more likely to be than the criminal? It's deep rooted. And they said, "Oh my goodness, they didn't know that. What's likely to do." They go back and watch that. I did a video. Go back and watch that video. Which one's likely to commit the crime? Which like to do this? And they took a whole audience a mixed audience, black and white, and other people. It's you can't help but being put in your head. It's real, ladies and gentlemen. But even when you're safe, that's why black people in America, we know this. We try to tell our other people, don't believe it. Not everybody say that they Lord love Jesus and everybody, my man is my equal. No, not everybody feels that way. They use Jesus as a crutch. It's not Jesus' fault. It's what they pretended. So make sure whoever your friends is, you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see, and you'll see when you have to go amongst them to understand it. All right then. And until you see, and some of you won't get it until you can experience it yourself. When you get on the job, it might be in church, it might be in your neighborhood. You might even go out in public. You'll see. Watch. Alright then. Hope this kind of educates somebody. Because in some cases, with some people, love does see color. Remember that. But God don't. Take care. Be blessed.